Hi YouTube, welcome back to another knife review. Today we're taking a look at the Cold Steel Drop Forged Hunter. So this is, like it says, a cold steel drop forged knife, and it is called the, let's see if it says somewhere. The model number is, there it is, 36MA. I don't know what that stands for, but there's a couple other drop forged knives, so this one is the 36MA. And I'll open it up, pull it out. It's just a cardboard package with some information on it and bubble wrap. Here is the knife itself with a nylon sheath, I think it is, some sort of plastic. And like I've been doing lately, I have my little cheat sheet of everything, so it'll match up with all my other reviews going forward. The whole style and everything. So to start, I'll pull it out of the sheath. Really nice retention on it, you can see. So a little bit of oil on the blade. I think most knives with sheaths come shipped like that, but as you can see, it is a fixed blade, and I'll get into the specs and features. So overall length of 8.625 inches, blade length of 4 inches, handle length of 4.625 inches, blade thickness of 0.2, a handle thickness of 0.38. Blade shape is a drop point with a plain edge, and it said on Blade HQ that it was a hollow grind, but it doesn't really feel that way. If it is a hollow grind, it's a very not very deep hollow grind, so pretty much a flat grind, but I guess Blade HQ called it a hollow grind. The blade material is 52-100, and I have handle material on my list, but it's a drop forged solid chunk of steel, so it is all 52-100, which is a high carbon steel, not very corrosion resistant, I don't think, but I think they use it in kitchen knives and stuff like that to be really sharp and take a great edge. It is 8.6 ounces, so it is a big chunk of steel, you can tell by the thickness. Comes with a lanyard hole and a sheath, so I'll set it down. Just pretty simple, pretty much locks in by the little scalloping in the handle. Locks in there, a couple attachment points all up around here. It says cold steel. You can attach to your belt right there. And that's pretty much it with that, pretty plain. So now I'm going to get into the appearance and kind of the design. So drop forged, that pretty much just means it was stamped out. So you have a bottom die and a top die, and you just have a big hammer and pretty much just squish hot metal till it forms this. It has a little bit of flash and everything that comes out of the sides, and they cut all that away. And I don't know exactly how they did it, but if they could have just completely smashed it out until it was beveled like this, but I bet they probably smashed it into the rough shape, left the handle the way it was, and then ground the blade down. It also has a black powder coating on it, so it adds a cool look to it. A lot of the other drop forged knives have a gold, I don't even know if it's powder coating, but some type of gold paint or powder coating or coating, and I like the look of this better. It also looks rougher, so it kind of looks kind of like a less coarse version of like the Rhino Liner, like truck bed coating, but feels pretty good. The gold stuff looks a little smooth, so I definitely prefer this more. And the handle fits your hand nice. This little scalloping out in the middle, kind of the light weight or whatever. Reducing some of the weight helps with the grip. Put your hand down in there, and it's got a little choil up here and kind of a hook back here, so it keeps your hand locked in if you're really going to be whacking at something. I'm going to close up real quick on some of the writing. Cold Steel Taiwan, 52-100 high carbon, and drop forged hunter. So I'll go over now some of the good stuff, or some of the goods as I have it listed. The grip, really secure. Like I said, you can really grip down. I feel like I could stab it into a tree and I wouldn't move forward on the blade or anything. It'd be really comfortable in gloves because it is a big handle. Really grips it in. There's no jimping or anything, so if you are cutting for a while, you're not going to get any hot spots on jimping. The blade's really thick and sturdy, so it seems like you could baton with it. I haven't gone out and done anything with it yet, but I'm kind of just reviewing the ergonomics and the build quality of it. But you can look up online. There's tons of people that have already gone out, and I was watching one guy just stab it down into a log and pry it up, and everybody knows you're not supposed to pry with a knife, so if I did that with this Spyderco, right when I went into the wood, pulled up, it'd snap the blade at the tip or snap it at the pivot, so you know you're probably not supposed to do that with knives, but this one is a little different with that blade. He was just stabbing like an inch into the log and prying it up, so you can definitely tell it's sturdy. The tip is really stout, so really hard working tasks, you don't really have to worry about the tip breaking off. Can't really get it to, it's a pretty big tip for it not to focus on. That's weird. There we go. Yeah, so very stout tip. You're probably not going to break that off. Might take a little while to really trying to get it to break it off. And the powder coating, that'll definitely protect, again, some of the corrosion, because 5200 is high carbon, so it doesn't have very high corrosion resistance, so adding a little bit of powder coating to it will help. And the sheath is very nice. Fits in nice. Doesn't really wobble or shake or anything when you shake it. And then pop it off, push on the back like a normal sheath. So some of my gripes. The coating. If you are going to be batoning this, or stabbing trees, I guess, it's definitely going to wear off. I don't know how long it'd last, but it definitely end up wearing off at some point, so then you could be susceptible to corrosion, but until then you're good. It's also heavy. Like I said, 8.6 ounces. Yeah, 8.6 ounces, so if you go backpacking and you're going to be out a long time, you usually calculate, or at least you think of how much weight you're carrying, and if you're going to have a lot, then you start taking things out, or you make sure you only pack lightweight things. So if you're throwing a bunch of stuff in a backpack and you have like 80 pounds in a backpack, and then this is half a pound right here, then, I mean, you could easily just maybe a Spyderco or a different fixed blade like an SE or something a lot smaller and lighter. Want something with skeletonized handles, not a 3.8 or 0.38 inch thick handle, so definitely a better choice for backpacking. It's also pretty thick behind the edge. I'll cut up my little cheat sheet, but seems to do pretty well. Came with a nice sharp edge, but it is a little thick behind it. You can tell the secondary bevel is really wide, so they did do a good job sharpening it. I saw online, I think the only review I saw on Blade HQ showed that the blade grind was uneven, but this one seems to be good. At least good enough for me not to be able to notice it. So that all checks out for me. Also, it says that it's hardened to 58 to 59 Rockwell, which means it might dull after just a little bit of use. So once you baton a couple logs, you're definitely not going to be slicing paper with it, but it is a big, thick work knife, so you're probably not going to need to, or if you're expecting to cut paper with it right after doing a bunch of hard work with it, then it's probably not going to happen. the if you are batoning it through a log or whatever, cutting up firewood, at least the blade won't chip, probably. It'll deform. If it's 80 or 58 to 59 Rockwell, pretty much just means that if something does happen to the blade from batoning, it'll just deform. It's not going to chip. You're not going to have it snap the blade in half or whatever. If you had a higher hardened blade, it'd be a little more brittle, so they kept it a little lower probably just in case, since you might be hard working with it. And I had the Paramotor 2 out earlier, so I'll show that as the comparison, since that is kind of like the baseline knife that everybody's seen. So they're pretty close, pretty comparable. You can see that blade thickness comparison. Pretty different there. The handle is actually thinner since it's all one solid piece, but the blade, especially up there at the tip, pretty drastically different. Both full flat grinds though. And so my final little section, my recommendations and my final thoughts on the knife. So it's very cheap for the quality. I mean, it's just a completely stamped out knife that was maybe ground, maybe it was stamped like this, and they put an edge on it, and I mean, that's what it is. They did a good job at that. It was, I think, $80 MSRP, now on sale on like Blade HQ, GP Knives, maybe a couple others for like $40. So I got it for like 42, and it was like $2 shipping, so very cheap, especially from the MSRP. So if you just want a knife, I don't even have any camping trips planned in the distant future, so if I do go camping, this is what I'm going to bring, but I didn't buy this specifically to go camping. I just thought, great deal, looked cool, looked pretty badass, might as well buy it, and I'll definitely use it if I go camping, but I don't have anything planned yet. It should be a good camp knife, so especially if you're going to go camping, maybe not backpacking, throwing this in a backpack and lugging it around for 50 miles or more, like, you might feel it in the backpack, which you wouldn't feel if you had a little SE or I think Ontario Knife Company has some bushcrafting knives or whatever. So if you have one of those, you wouldn't feel it as much as this. But camp knife, throwing it around, campsite, chopping wood, whittling, I don't know. Seems like it could handle pretty much anything. And it's definitely a hard user without worrying about it getting damaged. So it's not a folder, so you're not going to mess up the lock or anything. It's just one solid piece. There's no handle to get messed up. Some people wrap it in paracord so that they can really grip it a little better, but you need to watch out because about that much of the handle is what's used to lock it into the sheath, so you have to watch out about that. And other than that, just seems like a hard use knife. If you have a hard use, or if you need a hard use knife and you don't want to spend a bunch of money, $40. You can get this. You can get a lot of the bigger ones. There's a dagger boot knife. There's a push knife. Those seem a little less practical than this, but just a big, badass knife. Really cool. Really heavy. The only drop forged knife I have, and the only one I've ever really seen. So definitely really cool, unique. Check it out if you can. And that's about it for this one. That is the first one in 2 in a row that I haven't cut myself. So the last 2 reviews I cut my finger, and I'm not bleeding at the end of this one. So throw me a like because I didn't cut myself. And check out some of my other videos, and thanks for watching.